I've always loved Halloween, not just for the costumes or the candy, but because it's the one time of year my passion for horror feels normal. Outside of October, I get raised eyebrows for scribbling tales of severed heads and blood-soaked nightmares while everyone else is glued to the latest feel-good TV show. But when the leaves turn and pumpkins grin, people beg for my stories, craving a scare. I'm John here, a horror writer by hobby, a guy who revels in the eerie, but I've always avoided setting my stories on Halloween. It's too obvious, too expected. The night when the veil between the living and the dead is thinnest, when spirits supposedly roam. A good horror story should chill you in April as much as October, standing on its own without leaning on a holiday's cliché. I stuck to that rule, weaving fantastical terrors far removed from my own life, until last Halloween, when something happened that I can't keep to myself. It's too strange, too unsettling, and maybe it'll scare you as much as it did me. Last Halloween I went all out as always. My house was a haunted spectacle. Fake spiderwebs draped across the porch, a plastic skeleton half buried in the bushes, creepy purple floodlights casting shadows, and jack-o'-lanterns flickering with menace. My wife, Sarah, was out trick-or-treating with our son, Ethan, leaving me on door duty, handing out candy to the neighborhood kids. I was sprawled in a lawn chair, a massive bowl of sweets in my lap, dressed as a scarecrow, tattered clothes stuffed with straw, fake blood smeared across my face, and a wide-brimmed hat that half obscured my vision. The hat made my jump scares more chaotic, which the kids loved. From the sidewalk, I looked like just another prop, blending into the spooky decor. It was perfect, until a group of teenagers decided to mess with me. I startled a half-hearted ghost face with a wild scream, and one of them yanked my hat down over my eyes. I clawed at it, but it caught on my nose, and by the time I freed myself, I heard sneakers pounding down the street. The candy bowl was nearly empty, not a single piece scattered on the ground. Grumbling, I decided to call it a night. It was getting late anyway. I dragged the chair around back, intending to shut off the porch lights and clean up. That's when I saw her, standing alone on my porch, a girl no older than 12, maybe 13. She wore a white and blue dress, like Alice in Wonderland, with a big black ribbon tying back her frazzled blonde hair. A small basket hung under her arm, barely filled with candy. Her costume wasn't just cute, it was unsettling. Black eyeliner smeared across her face like a bandit mask, so thick it looked like her eyes had been burned out. Fake blood stained her mouth, dripping down her chin, and her skin was unnaturally pale, almost translucent, clinging to a bone structure that seemed too sharp, too frail. She looked like a corpse, a revenant plucked from one of my stories, but it was her expression that hit me hardest. Her eyes, wide and glassy, were locked on me, radiating pure terror, as if I were the monster. I raised a hand, trying to seem friendly. "Happy Halloween," I said, approaching the door. I pulled off my hat, smearing the fake blood on my face to look less threatening, and tilted the empty bowl. "Just a sec, let me see if I've got anything left inside." Her gaze dropped to the bowl, then flicked back to me, nodding slightly. I smiled, turning to step inside, when she let out a scream that stopped me cold. "No, wait." I pivoted, nearly tripping over the doorframe, and stared at her. What is it?" She fell silent, lips trembling, trying to form words but failing. We stood there, locked in a bizarre standoff, her eyes pleading. I tried again, softer. "Are you okay? Do you need help? Should I call your parents?" Her mouth opened wider, cracked lips quivering, but no sound came. I was about to offer water. Her lips looked painfully dry. When she finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "Please don't let me out of your sight." My brow furrowed, confusion mixing with unease. I started to close the door, keeping her in view to avoid another scream. "Dad, please don't do that," she cried, and my frustration flared. "Look, kid, I don't know if this is a prank, trick or treat, haha, but if something's wrong, you need to tell me." She lowered her head, eyes darting up to check if I was still looking. "I'm sorry," she said. "I just need your help. You're John here, right?" The air felt heavier. This girl, screaming at me to keep her in sight, knew my name. I didn't know her, not her face, not her voice, nothing. "Yes, I am," I said hesitantly. Then I can't let you look away, she pleaded. Please. I scratched my head, glancing up and down the street before meeting her eyes again to keep her calm. Why me specifically? She clutched her forearm, her fingers so delicate I heard her joints crack. I don't know how to explain it, she said. I sighed, the straw in my costume itching fiercely. Try please. My family's coming home soon, and I'm packing up. Everyone else on the street's done. If you're lost, I can drive you home, or the police can. Alicia, she said. My name's Alicia. Okay, nice to meet you, Alicia, but that doesn't answer my question. Do you need to call someone? She fell silent, and I turned the doorknob, keeping her in sight. Look, if you're not comfortable talking, I'll grab my phone, and you can tell the police. She stepped forward, stopping at the porch's edge. Okay, yes, let's do that. I nodded, unsettled by her intensity, and stepped inside. The door resisted as I tried to close it. Alicia was pushing her way in, that terrified look still plastered on her face. I sighed, gesturing for her to follow. The house smelled of burnt pumpkin and Sarah's autumn spice candle, a cloying mix that turned my stomach. I glanced at Alicia, expecting a reaction to the stench, but she was unfazed, her eyes fixed on me. I tried to lead her to the living room, but she refused to let me out of her sight, shuffling awkwardly to stay abreast of me in the narrow hallway. Alicia, please, just let me. I didn't finish because she kept moving with me, always where I could see her, always watching. It was like she'd taken the parental rule of stay where I can see you to an obsessive extreme. I started to wonder if she was running from abuse, her behavior too strange for a simple prank. I called the police, keeping my voice low, using vague terms to describe her odd behavior, wandering, distressed, possibly lost. She understood, pain flickering across her face, but she stayed, silent, watching. The call took longer than I'd hoped. Halloween night, a creepy girl tormenting someone. It sounded like a prank, and I had to convince the dispatcher I was serious. Alicia stood still the whole time, refusing the phone when I offered it. When I hung up, I led her back to the porch, her hand brushing mine as she followed. Her skin wasn't soft like a child's, it felt like peeling paper, crumbling under my touch. I turned on the porch light and knelt to her level, wincing at her appearance. The yellow glow made her look paler, almost translucent, the black eyeliner cracking to reveal deep bags under her eyes, like she hadn't slept in days. The police will be here soon, I said, keeping my voice steady. They'll ask about your parents, where you live, and take you home. Her eyes widened, and she shook her head frantically. No, you can't let them take me away. I stood, exasperation creeping in. Alicia, I don't know you. I don't know why you know me, but this has to stop. Please, she whispered, her voice breaking. I bit my cheek, hesitating. Are you afraid of your parents? Have they hurt you? Her answer stopped my heart. You are my parent. Sickness twisted my gut. What? Her lips moved silently, struggling, then she said, It's you. My mind spiraled, clawing through memories. There was Jackie, a brief high school girlfriend, but that was years ago, a fling that ended before college. Could she have had a kid? The math barely worked, and I'd never heard from her since. Wait here, I said, bolting upstairs, ignoring Alicia's scream. By the second floor, she'd stopped, maybe realizing I wasn't leaving for good. I needed answers, away from her unsettling presence. In my bedroom closet, I dug through old boxes, photo albums, track medals, until I found my high school yearbook. The inside covers were scrawled with teenage notes, some heartfelt, some lazy. Jackie's was there, plain, thanking me for prom. No last name. I flipped to the class photos, scanning for her under F. There she was, Jackie Freeman. I grabbed my phone, ready to call her, to confirm if Alicia was hers. As I started downstairs, Alicia's voice cut through. Don't do that again, please. I glared at her, frustration boiling. You look pale. Want water? A juice box. I'm poorly made, John, she said, her voice hollow. I huffed. I'm calling your mother. Jackie, right? I moved down the hall, and she started crying, a low, keening sound. Please don't forget about me again. I disappeared. I froze. I didn't disappear, I went upstairs. You're not listening. No, she said, tears mixing with her makeup, streaking black down her face. I disappeared. Her stare was wet, exhausted, and something clicked. A horrible, impossible idea I dismissed as one of my own story plots. Yes, she whispered, her voice hoarse, like it took everything to speak. That thought. Your guess. Her head tilted toward the window. They'll be here. Only 43 more words. I stared, my patience gone. Would you make sense? This isn't funny. Trick or treat, you got me. What do you want? Candy. Outside, she said. 14. A siren blipped outside, and relief washed over me. Her gaze dropped to my feet. If you let me leave your mind again, I'm done for. Don't let them take me. I didn't respond, done with her games. I opened the door for the officers, who led her to their cruiser, asking me the usual questions. I answered, still baffled by her words. They suggested she was high or mentally unwell, chiding me for letting her inside, a safety risk. I nodded, apologized, and watched them leave, still in my itchy scarecrow costume. Nice costume, one officer said. Looks uncomfortable. Only when it's sweaty, I replied, forcing a laugh. Makeup's a mess too, another added. I waved them off, stepping back to the porch window, itching fiercely. Then I saw it. The officers were circling their cruiser, checking doors and windows, confusion on their faces. The back seat was empty. No Alicia, no dress, no ribbon, no basket. I froze, my breath catching. One officer aimed her flashlight at me. Is this a prank call, buddy? They stayed 2 hours, searching, questioning, while Sarah and Ethan came home to find me repeating the story, still in my costume. The police left, planning a missing child alert, but they never found how she escaped a locked cruiser without a trace. A year later, writing this, I think I understand. Alicia told me, but I didn't listen. She wasn't real, not in the way I thought. She was something I'd made, a story come to life, existing only as long as I kept her in my mind. When I looked away, she faded. I smirk now, wondering if I created her or she created me. All I know is I can't write Halloween stories anymore. Not after knowing the cost. Sitting here, laptop burning my thighs, I try to bring her back. Her dress, her bow, her pale face, but she won't return. Forgive me, Alicia. The aftermath was a slow unraveling. I stopped decorating for Halloween, the props staying boxed in the garage. Sarah noticed, asking why I'd lost my spark, but I couldn't explain without sounding unhinged. Ethan missed the spooky porch, but I told him we'd do it next year, knowing I wouldn't. I stopped writing horror, my notebooks untouched, the ideas too close to that night. I scoured old yearbooks, called Jackie Freeman. She'd moved to California, no kids, no memory of anything strange. I joined online forums, searching for stories of vanishing girls, of figures tied to thought, to stories made real. Some mentioned tulpas, creations of the mind that gain form, but it felt too neat, too tidy for the dread Alicia left behind. I found an old short story I'd written in college, about a pale girl who begged not to be forgotten. I burned it, afraid it was her origin. I moved my desk away from windows, unable to handle shadows moving outside. Every creak, every flicker, brought her face back. Those cracked lips, those streaked tears. I know she's gone, but I still check corners, expecting her eyes. If you tell a story, keep it in your mind. Don't let it out, or it might demand to stay.